I want to talk to you quickly about a law that's especially relevant to Black and brown communities in California, but also might be a roadmap for other states, considering that California leads the nation in how they prosecute gang crimes, how they police Black and brown communities in terms of gangs, and how they incarcerate us and treat us during incarceration. So it's called AB 333, right? Assembly Bill 333, also known as the Step Forward Act of 2021. Now, I'm a gang expert, which doesn't mean I know everything about all the gangs, but it does mean that since 2012, I've worked with defense attorneys and immigration attorneys all around the country. I've testified, I've written reports, I've done it all um, in helping to secure the rights of those labeled as gang members. And in a lot of these prosecutions, there's one of a couple questions, right? Is the individual in a gang? And then two, is what they did for the benefit of the gang. And so in immigration cases, it could range from DACA to asylum and whatnot. I haven't won every case I've worked on, but there's been countless, dozens of instances where I've either helped somebody not go to prison when they were charged with gang crimes, helped them get less time when they were convicted than they were otherwise exposed to, helped them get citizenship in terms of immigration court or get asylum, and then helped folks to get out when they've already been sentenced and they come back for trial on appeal. And that ranges from Northerners, Southerners, various Black groups, like I said, all around the country. Puerto Ricans, Dominicans on the East Coast, Mata, 18th Street, you name it. This is not a set tripping thing. Like, this is for the people, right? And for marginalized folks. As we know, most people in California that are convicted under gang crimes are Latino, right? Like damn near 70%. And then 25% are Black. So it disproportionately affects brown and Black communities, not just because I say so or because it sounds cute to advocate. It is the numbers, right? It's the rules. And then 2007 or 2011, there's about 170,000 people in prison in California. Now we're down to somewhere around 112, I think, as of 2020. So a lot of people been getting out, right? And that's great. Like, I support that, of course. But during that same period of time, gang prosecutions and those incarcerated for gang crimes have gone up 40%. So we are not reaping the full benefits of all these legislation and all this change and everything else. AB 333 is a step in the right direction. It doesn't fix everything, but it is a step forward, right? The old 186.22, the Penal Code for Gangs, was called the STEP Act, right? So there's a play on words, the Step Forward Act. So what does this do? And like I said, this is going to be brief. You can go online, you can Google it, you could read the law for yourself. It's passed through the Assembly, it's passed through the Senate because of certain rules they have to revote, but it's going to be going to the governor's desk soon, and I'm 100% sure that Governor Newsom is going to sign it. Now, if he gets recalled, whoever his replacement is, I'm 100% sure will not sign it, especially because the person that's leading right now, this dude Elder, is very pro-police, is very pro-prosecution, is very pro-incarceration, and he likes to operate with an iron fist. Or he dreams of operating with an iron fist. He actually has no fist now because he has no power, but he'd really love it. And if he got that power, even though he's a Black dude, that power would definitely hurt us. So anyways, what does this law change, right? First of all, it says that if something is in behalf of a gang, it cannot just be reputational, right? And I know in a lot of cases that I've fought, the argument is, well, they're dressed this way or they're doing this out of, they're desiring respect. Gangs need respect so that they can conquer territory and sell drugs and kill people and, murder babies and the whole 9 yards, right? So we know that that's not true. We know that everybody who looks like they're from the hood is not technically from the hood. We also know that not every gang member commits crimes or is violent. We know there's a diversity amongst us, but the law doesn't recognize that. And so in this case, like I said, it's a move forward. So that is a big step, right? They have to show some direct connection, financial profit, right? A specific retaliation for a specific crime, intimidating a witness. So there's still laws there. Like I said, it's not perfect, but it's a step. The other thing it says is that the offense that you're being charged with cannot be used to count as this pattern of 3 activities over the last 3 years. And that's huge because a lot of folks who don't have much of a record and a lot of neighborhoods that haven't been prosecuted, which could be tagger cliques and rap crews. Like, it's not just old school barrios that get prosecuted, right? And so, like, they're especially going after these little smaller groups, right? And these youngsters that just click up for the purpose of hitting houses or whatever. Now, you can't use what you're caught for as the pattern, right? Um, Historically, you could be called a gang member or you can be said to be doing gang crimes, even if you have no idea about the other people involved. If you don't know anybody in a gang, you can still get roped in. This makes that a lot more difficult. I don't want to say impossible, but a lot more difficult. It takes a few crimes off the list: vandalism, stealing ID cards, stealing somebody's identity, DMV records, that sort of thing. So there's still a lot of crimes on the list of things that can be charged with gang enhancements, but at least it's less. And then what I think is most crucial and could turn out to be most beneficial for us is the gang allegation needs to be tried separately from the charges that you're being accused of. So, for example, if you're being charged with robbery or hitting houses or an assault or whatever it may be, that has to be proven without introducing the gang evidence at trial first. And if you're convicted of that, then you can have a new hearing where they argue, was it or was it not related to a gang? And that's used for a couple reasons. One, gang enhancements were originally only meant to be a 3-year enhancement for serious and violent crimes of organized crime agencies. Obviously, we see that that's not the way that it works. Any laws that are made to oppress us ultimately oppress us more as time goes on. They just get stricter. The foot is still on the neck. This is one of the few instances where they're trying to release some of that oppression. And again, it's not complete, but it is a step. So now when they tell you, oh, plead out to this, right? Your maximum exposure is life, plead out to 15 years. A lot of times that's because of the enhancements that boost your exposure so high. Well, now they wouldn't be able to do that, right? They would only be able to expose you, so to speak. They'd only be able to threaten you with what that crime, absent the gang enhancement, makes you vulnerable to. And so now, let's say your max is 10 years, they offer you a deal, that's what you're comparing to, as opposed to the same actual crime, but with the gang enhancements, you could be looking at 25 to 30 years, especially for more serious crimes like carjacking and shootings and stuff. You could be looking at a lot longer. And so then they come at you with like, hey, bro, take 12, right? And people are doing it left and right because they're scared to go to trial. Also, at trial, if you do go, if there's any gang claims, that is used to paint you out to be the devil, right? You're a monster. And so now they can't do that. And so they have to just prove you're guilty on the facts of what happened, not all that outside stuff of, oh man, they're from the neighborhood, or look how they were dressed, or look at this picture from social media when they're posing with this person and whatnot. The courts have said over time that gang evidence can be prejudicial, can make it where juries make a decision based on what they're hearing as opposed to based on the actual law, right? So maybe they're 90% sure you did it, but not 100. But then they hear about you, wearing red shoelaces or a blue belt, or you got a certain number tattooed on you, or you're walking with these people, or you're in this picture or whatever. And like, man, that's a bad person that I don't want as my neighbor. So I'm gonna go ahead and that takes up that extra 10%. Like, I'm gonna go ahead and find them guilty and get them out of here. If they didn't do this, they must have done something. We hear that shit all the time. So this law will help prevent that in a major way, right? So anyways, I'm not one to normally come on here and ask you to vote for stuff or who to vote for. I'm not a huge fan of Newsom. I think he's done a lot of stuff foul. I'm not a Democrat. I'm not a conservative. I'm not in a Green Party or a Libertarian, none of that stuff. As I've said before, I push my own agenda, and that includes in politics. I take a look at each thing individually. Who supports it means a little bit to me, because if a JCAT is backing it, then it's probably some JCAT stuff. But more importantly, I'll try to see how it affects me and people that I love. This law affects me and people that I love. And so I'm asking you to do your own research. Don't take my word for it. All you got to do is Google AB 333 California. It pops up. You can see the vote history. You can see how close it is to getting onto the governor's desk. You can read what they've changed. You can read what the old law is. Like it's a lot of language, but it's not super complicated, right? If you have questions, feel free to DM me on Instagram, the Homie Hangout. I'm on Twitter, at I think Real Homie for Life, but also the Homie Hangout. I got a Facebook page, the Homie Hangout. I'm everywhere. And so there's no message feature on YouTube, but you can message me on other platforms if you want more information, if you need to be walked through this voting stuff, for whatever reason, whether it's about this video or other videos, I'm open to communicate with folks. And so if Newsom gets recalled, this law is not going to pass, right? If he does not get recalled, this law is going to pass. It's moved quickly. It just barely got introduced in January, and there's a high likelihood it's done by the end of the year. And so, but Republican people in the state, they're going to drag their feet trying to see, is Newsom going to be the governor still? They don't have the votes to block it. But if they have the governor, they can veto it and not sign it. Even though everybody voted for it, he can just say, I don't want to sign it, and I don't have to. That's the play. So if for no other reason, I'm encouraging you to vote no on recall on Gavin Newsom and make sure that AB 333 becomes the law in California. It's important, and it will help others move in excellence. And that's what we're about here. So be a homie. I'm not asking you to get involved in politics in general. I really don't care what your political persuasions are, but I care about this, and I think some of you guys will too. Take care.